to the Web3 Prof Podcast.
Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I'm here with Simon Vieira, who is co-founder and CEO of MixMob. Thanks for being with me here today, Simon.
Hey, my pleasure, Jared. Thanks so much for inviting me.
So tell us a little bit about the story of MixMob, and if you would begin the story with how did you get into crypto or Web3? Where did this journey begin for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So this goes back about 3 years ago. And, you know, I've been in games for 15 years. I worked at EA, PokerStars, and I built this pretty tight network of friends that, you know, we're all into video games. And we saw about 3 years ago what Axie Infinity was doing at the time. And for those of you that don't know Axie Infinity, that was one of the first video games that figured out how to merge a game with crypto. And what happened was at the time is COVID hit, and particularly in the Philippines, people were playing this game, Axie Infinity, to actually make a living. And I sent it to one of my friends, Pavel, our co-founder. He sent it to me. He's like, hey man, like, check this out. Like, this is the dream. You know, imagine if we could have done this when we were building Facebook games. And I was like, wow, this is really cool, man. And he's like, can we bring some innovation into this? And I was like, heck yeah. And I was like, let's put a team together. And so we put a team together, and that's how MixMob started.
So was it the play to earn model that Axie demonstrated where you thought, okay, this is actually pretty cool. There's a token here. You're buying NFTs. It is wild because people were making a living. You'd see these YouTube videos of like how impoverished people were being lifted out of poverty based on the token price of Axie, and it was remarkable, right? So you know, what was it, and even today with the story of MixMob, you know, blockchain games are an interesting story.
Definitely.
There's something controversial about it.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of questions as to like, why do games need to be on blockchain?
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, you know, in the launch of MixMob, why didn't you just build a regular traditional game, and why did you go for a blockchain game?
So first, I want to address, because I think this will be good for the public, your question of like, why was Axie kind of like revolutionary at the time? And what I want everybody to know that is listening is, remember, Bitcoin started, and it's a network. When you send something, there's a network fee, there's transaction, it takes time. And you're transacting small space in a block, in a chain, right? So without going too technical, the idea at the time, this was like 2017 when we kind of started seeing some of these first kind of gamified things happening, of having a video game on chain was crazy, because a transaction will take super long. There's not enough block space. And in 2017, actually, a Vancouver company started CryptoKitties. And it totally crashed the Ethereum network. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, absolutely. I've had many CryptoKitties co-founders and Flow Blockchain individuals and Dapper Labs people on this podcast. Right. And it's an amazing story, right?
It's an amazing story.
It broke Ethereum, and that changed a lot, right? I don't think we would have things like Solana or other chains like that if they hadn't broken Ethereum and said there's got to be a better way, right?
You got it. Exactly. So for those that are listening, that's the first thing we were like, oh shit, okay, this is actually interesting. You know, something to think about. And what Axie did was they were like, okay, this is growing so out of control that we need to create our own chain to facilitate transactions. And so they created their own chain, and it was faster. So now all of a sudden, the idea of having a video game on chain was possible. And we were like, okay, this is interesting. Let's try that. And then on top of that, like you said, the play to earn aspect was very interesting. But when we started going deep into it, we were like, is this sustainable? Like, from a traditional gaming economy, can this sustain? And we were like, I don't think so. You know, this was before all of, you know, the thing with Axie happened. And that's where we wanted to innovate. So we wanted to innovate on two things: the economy and the actual game itself. So Axie was more like turn-based, very slow. and we wanted to do something faster paced. Something like racing at the time was, we started to talk to a lot of people, and they're like, racing is super fun, right? Very competitive.
Like car racing.
Like car racing, exactly. And so we're like, okay, what if we combine racing, like Mario Kart, with cards, right? And we put it all into this economy on chain. And that's kind of how MixMob started.
So when you say cards, you mean like trading cards?
You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So explain the relationship between MixMob and first NFTs, and then we'll talk maybe about the token after that.
Let's do it. So the best way to tell you the relationship between MixMob and NFTs and even crypto, I got to tell you what MixMob stands for and how it all kind of like the lore behind it.
Great.
So the lore behind MixMob is, what would you do if an AI deleted our entire culture?
Mm-hmm.
So we started from there, right? Imagine there's no more culture and we have to rebuild it from scratch. So in the lore of our game, this group of rebels took whatever they could from culture, right? Movies, fashion, TV, whatever it was from culture, and put them into NFTs, hid them in the web, and then started a revolution against the AI. So that's the kind of like macro story. And the way it ties well with the game is, so in order for us to fight the AI, we create these robots, and before we fight them, we raise these robots to train them. So that's where the racing comes from.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and so that's the connection there.
So is the car that I'm racing an NFT, or is the robot that I'm using an NFT?
You got it.
Both.
That's right. So the robot, so in our world, it's not a car per se, it's a robot.
Oh, the robot is actually racing.
Yeah, the
Okay,
robot
got it.
is racing, and the robot is an NFT.
I see.
And those NFTs, remember, NFTs, what is really cool is they have almost their own DNA, their own metadata. And that metadata, this is one innovation we brought into the game, actually, it's unique to that robot, and it changes, let's say, the speed from which your robot races, or the power from which your robot, has in the game. So that DNA actually changes your robot in the game.
So as you get better in the game, your robot becomes more sophisticated.
You got it.
And then is that an NFT asset for me? It increases in value as I play it more and it gets better, and then I can
Totally.
I can monetize. I can trade it.
You can monetize it.
Yeah. And are you guys built your own NFT marketplace, or are NFTs being sold on Magic Eden or something like that?
You got it. So right now we're under Solana. They're one of our investors. And the way we wanted to use it is we wanted to actually release the NFTs for people to play in the game. But if they want to sell them, they can use secondary, to your point, Magic Eden and these other secondary marketplaces where they can actually go and do their trading and monetization side of things.
And does a MixMob generate revenue from these transactions? Are you taking a cut from each NFT sale?
Yeah, so actually this is a funny story. The interesting part about NFTs at the time, remember this is at the time, and maybe we can talk about challenges and cool parts of building, like, this at the forefront of innovation in games. But the one of the things that drove us into NFTs was the idea of the smart contract that these NFTs have, where it basically guarantees your royalty as a creator. And once we start looking deep in the tech, we're like, there's something off here, right? Like this smart contract is not at a protocol level, and so if it's not, then what will happen in the near future?
Right.
And we were like, this is the forefront innovation. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Let's continue. Anyways, probably about 2 months after, all the exchanges or the marketplaces, they're like, we're cutting royalties. Yeah. And we're like, what? How can, the whole market is like, how can that even happen? It's a smart contract. Yeah. But it wasn't just built at a protocol level.
Yeah.
So now, technically speaking, to answer your question more directly, if you're trading on a secondary marketplace and you want to pay the royalties, now it's optional, basically.
Yeah.
So yes, we do for the people that want to, but it's not imposed now as how it was before.
I mean, that was a controversial time in NFTs because at that point, everybody in Web3 was telling artists, hey,
yes,
you can create art and you can get royalties for the rest of your life on every sale. And that was a big selling feature.
Totally.
And it was really unfortunate when it was discovered that actually that's not true at all.
Yeah.
And that whole unique selling proposition of NFTs within a couple months expired very quickly, right?
Totally.
And here we are today, where it's fundamentally optional everywhere, right?
Exactly.
So when we look at the token now, you have the MXM token.
You got it.
that was hard for me. Which you launched a few months ago on Solana. So what is the purpose of the token, and why was that part of your roadmap?
I like it. So I guess to understand the launch of the token and the roadmap, we do have to understand the vision from the beginning, right? So the vision of MixMob from the very beginning is to empower people in the future to become culture creators, right? We believe that the creative economy is the economy that is going to power the world in the very near future. I mean, it is kind of now, but it is going to be crazy in maybe 5 years, 10 years, right? So what we wanted to do was we wanted to build this universe on chain, right? Where in the future, if Jared wants to start, let's say your own game inside of our universe, you can, and we can facilitate that through the economy that we have created. So that's the long-term vision, right? And in order for us to do that, you need to have this token that powers that universe. So that's the macro vision. Now, at a game level, the idea is, I worked at PokerStars many years, and one of the things that is really cool is you play poker, which is a skill-based game. It's based on your skill, right? And you buy chips, right? You put them on the table, you play, and then you take those chips, you cash them out, you take that cash, and you put it in the bank. End of the story. Now, with crypto, what you can do is you take those chips, you play, and instead of cashing them out, you can say, okay, I really like this poker table, poker room, or game. I'm going to stake those chips. I believe in this game. I'm going to leave those chips in the house, and I'm going to collect some fees and revenue, passive revenue sharing from those chips. And with crypto, you can do that.
Yes. So you have a DeFi aspect of this. So staking is part of your DeFi program.
You got it.
Are there any other DeFi features? Can I trade your token on, I don't know, I guess I'm assuming I can trade it on a DEX.
You got it.
Are you guys on centralized exchanges as well?
We are.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was the process of getting on centralized exchanges for you?
Jared, that's such a good question, man. It's crazy. So for those that are listening and are thinking about it, it's a 6 months, 8 months process.
Like, I think I remember when you launched, maybe you were on Gate or what other exchanges were you on?
So we launched on Bybit, that was our main one. Yeah. Then KuCoin, and then Gate, Cube, all these other exchanges wanted to kind of have our token, and then obviously all the decentralized exchanges like Orca and Jupiter, etc. Yeah. But just back to the story. I was reflecting about this with my business partner because I helped him launch his token for his previous company in 2017, right? And we were kind of like thinking about it, doing a retrospective, and we're like, wow, like in 2017 was so easy to launch a token. All you had to do was literally go to the exchange, and the exchange is like, yeah, we'll handle your market making, we will do everything. All you need to do is like, do you have these things? Yes, boom. You didn't need to think about DeFi, decentralized exchange, nothing. Yeah. Now you have KYC. There was barely KYC in 2017. Yeah. Now there's like KYC, crazy background checks. Now you have to think about DeFi and what happened to the token in decentralized exchanges. Yeah. Now you have to have your own market makers. It's crazy, Jared. I'm like crazy, but it's exciting.
Simon, is it public how much money you guys have raised?
Yes, it is.
So where are you at?
So we raised our first NFT collection, raised 2.5 million. And then that gives us, the momentum to go raise capital with our, investors. And so we raised 7.5 from that raise. And then about a year ago, in 2023, we launched our robot collection. And we attached the token to that robot collection, to the NFT. It's another interesting story, and we raised about 2.5 million there.
Okay. So maybe you're at like
12.
12. Okay. Sorry, you just said it was an interesting story attaching the NFT to your token.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about that.
Okay, so what we wanted to do, and this is the cool stuff. Like, Jared, we are pioneering. Like, everybody that is listening to this podcast, it's like we're on a bullet train. We're building the bullet train while we're building the trucks at the same time.
That's a good analogy.
You know what I mean? And it's all going a freaking like 500, 1,000 kilometers per hour, and we're all building this as we go. And so back to the story, what we wanted to do was we were like, okay, how can we innovate on these token launches? We have NFTs. These NFTs are going to be the robots that you raise. Our community was really excited. At that time, our community was like, we had like 100,000 people, excited about this. And we're like, okay, how can we innovate? So we're like, okay, let's go to traditional, when we were all kids. You buy a toy, you bring that toy, you open it. And sometimes, I don't know if here, but like back home, you will get some like a code that you can redeem for like a kind of like simple game online.
Right.
And we wanted to bring that nostalgia into it. So with our token launch, basically what happened is you buy your NFT. That NFT had tokens inside from our main token. And you open your NFT, you get your robot, you can raise it in the game, and you can actually use the token.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so why did you decide to build on Solana? And was that always the plan? Or had you thought about some of these newer networks? Or had you thought about building on Cardano or...
Totally.
Whatever was around when you launched. I can't even remember
3 years ago
these layer 2s on Ethereum anymore. There's so many of them. I've forgotten all of them by now.
Right? Exactly. So remember, this was 3 years ago, and I think this touches back to the story we're discussing. Where
this is 2021.
This is 2021.
FTX
hadn't happened
not
yet.
crashed yet.
No.
Okay.
So that's another story because our entire thing is on Solana.
Yes.
And FTX heard the Solana the most.
Yes.
So, but back to what you're asking, the main reason we went to Solana was the options were Cardano, Ethereum, and some L2s that were on Ethereum, or Solana. And one of our investors, they were like, you should talk to Solana. So we went and talked to them, and we dug deep into the technology. And we're like, okay, there's something actually really cool here. Like the fact that I can, and remember at the time, right now we're super fortunate. I can send you, like, there's mobile wallets now. Like at the time, this was just kind of starting.
Yeah, Phantom probably didn't even exist then.
Just literally just starting. And that's what we were like, okay, I can send you, USDC in 2 seconds. We were like,
for fraction of a penny.
Fraction of a penny.
Yeah.
We're like, holy shit. This is where it's going. Let's build in this network. And so it was the gas fees, to your point. It was the speed of the transactions. And it was like the culture that was being cultivated and the technology.
For those listening, you said something like, well, we went to Solana and talked to them. Now, that's like a relatively flippant comment. How does one go as an entrepreneur? How does one go to Solana and talk to them? How does that process work?
Yeah. So deep, remember, Solana was... not just kind of starting, but it was
still pretty new.
Pretty new, right? And so the way this all works in the crypto world, and it's almost like a reflection of the regular world, but on steroids. It's through connections, right? So one of our friends and investors is like, yeah, here I'll connect you with the head of business development in Solana. And this is all happening through Telegram, which this is how kind of we connected, right?
Yeah.
So that's for those of you that are listening is that you have to know somebody that knows somebody that can connect you with that somebody.
Yes. And so now looking back, obviously, I'd love to hear through the days of FTX. I'm sure those were some dark days for you, thinking, why do we build on Solana?
Totally.
We also saw this kind of metaverse hype.
Yes.
And some of these games like Star Atlas as kind of the future of Web3, like Star Atlas and Axie Infinity and Sandbox and some of these other things. This is the future of Web3. This is what's going to onboard billions, right? And it hasn't happened.
Right.
So is there a level of disappointment there, or do you feel like you actually Web3 gaming is at a healthy place right now? The hype was unnecessary, and you're kind of like, I don't know what they say, chewing glass or whatever, and you're powering through. So
the first question was FTX, and those were hard, those were scary times because our entire treasury, even though it wasn't just on Solana coin per se, was on the Solana network in one way or another, right? USDC, etc. So it was pretty freaky. But here's the cool part: we contacted Solana, and Toli, co-founder and the CEO, and Raj, right, both co-founders, they jumped on a call and they were like, guys, we're here to answer any question you have.
Oh, amazing.
And we're like, okay, where are you guys going? What is happening? And they basically explained us absolutely everything, gave us reassurance, helped us through the process. And it was pretty cool. Like, it was awesome to see that during those crazy times, they were still so dedicated, so into it, and had a really solid plan, and were actually talking to us.
Yeah.
So shout out to Solana for that. So
that's amazing.
Cool. Yeah.
And now we look back and we think, wow, like those are some dark days. Now the Solana tokens at $160. We have incredible stability on the network. We see that there's enormous growth in all kinds of aspects, whether it's DPIN or meme coins or whatever's happening on Solana now. And so it looks like you made the right decision. Because there's chains like Cardano, like that we were options at the time, that are fundamentally, I don't know, they're not falling apart, but they're getting a bit ghost townish.
You got it,
right? And Solana is going the other direction.
Totally. And this is the analogy of you're on a bullet train, you're building the tracks, and so back to your original question where you said, hey, is this a disappointment for gaming? And my answer to that is twofold. One is when we started MixMob, I talked to our co-founders. I told my co-founders, like, let's say we want to build, like, the ultimate vision is a AAA game, but I've built AAA games, right? I came from FIFA and PokerStars and my business partners too, right? We know how much money, like. My business partner, like, we were working on a AAA game at the time, and the budget was about 40 million. Remember, this is like 2014.
Right.
40 million flopped. So all these people that were promising AAAs were like,
you didn't buy it.
Yeah. So we're like, obviously, let's have that as the ultimate goal, but let's start with a simple mid-core game, right? And so I said, we can build it in a year. But looking backwards, what I didn't estimate or maybe oversaw was how hard it is to build in crypto, or was to build in crypto. With you're dealing now with market forces or cycles. You're dealing with technology that is not fully built. So when we launched our alpha for the game, Solana crashed, totally crashed.
Really?
Yeah. This was like early 2022.
So are you saying that you are the crypto kitties of Solana?
We could, maybe it was related, maybe it wasn't. Yeah. But the point is that they had to shut down Solana.
Yes.
And imagine you're launching your game to a community that is excited, that is, crypto is speculative, and your game doesn't work.
Oh, but that must be so stressful.
It was so stressful because then everybody's like, "Oh, this is just." Fortunately, we have a great community. We managed to be like, "Hey, look, Solana is down." Everybody understood, and we have an amazing community. But this is what I'm saying. Like, I think everybody underestimated how hard it is to work to build on crypto today. So back to your original question. We just saw a glimpse of this with Off the Grid, which is a game that just launched 2 weeks ago, and it's onboarding a lot of players into like crypto without them literally knowing they're into crypto.
Oh, interesting.
Which is what we want to do at MixMob as well. But we decided to go on the mobile path.
Right.
And so we have 200,000 players that are there playing, transacting, inviting others. They're using crypto seamlessly. So do I believe games are a way, an amazing use case for crypto? 100%. And it's going to happen. I just think everybody overestimated how fast it takes or how long it takes.
How long it takes to do this, eh? So if we look back now, you seem pretty happy with your decision to build on Solana.
Totally.
If we look at the Solana ecosystem in gaming, because I often hear that like Solana is the best place to build games. And so what are other games gaining in popularity that you see built on Solana that you're thinking that's not necessarily competition, but other projects that are doing well, like you guys?
Yeah, totally. So we have a good friend of ours. It's building Neon Heroes, and Neon Heroes they're going a different route. It's more of a AAA console kind of like PC game where you kind of like pilot these crazy robots, but you're a cat, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
they are featured on Epic. There's another one that is pretty cool, pretty popular in a different route as well, but it's called Photo Finish. And what they're doing is it's horse racing.
Oh, I've seen this.
You've seen this one?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, right? And you can see the cool part is that you can see how blockchain and NFTs truly affect these economies and how cool it is what we're building here all together.
Yeah.
So those are some examples.
That's great. So at the end of the day, are you glad that you've built on blockchain rather than building a traditional game?
I wouldn't have done it any other way. And
so, but why? Why is that?
Okay, let's go into it. So the first thing is, what other industry allows you to build a community around your game that not only believes in you, but gives you, support in such a rapid way for you to build something where you have your resources available immediately, right? So when we launched our first NFT collection, we didn't know what was going to happen, really.
Sure.
And, through the power of obviously good marketing and luck and, certain forces, etc., and hard work, we built our community from there. And, we sold out our collection, 5,000 NFTs. We got 2.5 million. That gave us that big push. So it's a great way to fundraise, it's legit use case for crypto.
Yeah.
Then we have this community that now has an asset for the game without the game even starting, building, or without the game even started. And this community is rooting for you, right? And then not only that, but once we build the game, guess who was the first group of people that tested that game? It was gated to those NFT holders.
Of course, yeah.
So it is a beautiful, industry. Besides all the crazy stuff that happens, deep in the core, it's amazing. It's really good for what I'm saying, like raising capital, but also the cool innovation that's going on. Like I'll give you an example, and I have some cool stories. But one of our community members he's a software developer, like he's a tech director at like Audi or something in Europe, and he's like, guys, you need something on secondary, like on Magic Eden. You need a script so that people can see the powers of your NFTs, or this is a game. He built the whole thing and give it to the community. The community is super excited.
Right.
And this is all happening in this community in Web3.
That's amazing. I think you said you've got 200,000 players.
That's right.
So if every player needs an NFT, does that mean you've sold 200,000 NFTs?
So the NFT gated part was at the beginning.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And what we did is we opened the game to anybody. So anybody that is listening right now can go to MixMob.io, download the game. You don't need an NFT. You don't even know you have a wallet. You just log in with your email.
Okay.
In the background, we've built this really cool tech that creates a wallet for you and all of this stuff. But what the NFTs do is they give you certain exclusive access to new features.
I see.
Exclusive powers, certain powers in certain modes, and all this cool stuff that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Okay, that's great. Where do you see Web3 gaming going?
Okay.
What's the future look like for us? Maybe give us like a 5-year and a 10-year horizon.
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking about this the other day.
You knew I was going to ask that kind of question.
I think I was expecting something like this. I want to ask you the same, by the way.
Okay.
So, for me, the vision has always been the creator economy, and I gotta bring AI to this. And I'm sorry, but I have to, because it's such an important part of the future. And in a world where traditional AI is going to take over a lot of, traditional jobs, our belief is that gaming is going to play an important part, like particularly competitive gaming. is going to play a very important part on the economy, like sports, right? So we're seeing the future of gaming very tied to crypto because of that, right? Crypto powers that economy, and particularly competitive gaming. So that's one layer. The second layer is AI, right? Even as we have some AI tools now that we use for creating content, where players are going to come into a game. I'm talking about maybe in a year or 2 years. And every time they log in, it's going to feel almost like a new experience because there's going to be new assets that are generated by the AI, right? This is something that we are aiming for.
Very cool. Even
in our game, right? So that's that. Plus also avatars that are powered by AI. And so you feel like you're actually interacting with a person almost. So AI, crypto to power the economy, and competitive gaming. Those are the three pillars. What about you?
I mean, I think that when we look at, I teach university, and when I look at university students, I see, a high level of engagement with a certain sector of university students into games. And I look at my own kids. My 11-year-old will do nearly anything to play a video game,
right?
So it's obviously a very attractive market. And when we partner kind of the decentralized nature of Web3, and we look at how people can own their assets and they can transport their assets, and they can do this without government restriction or control, and they have this kind of sense of freedom, I think that's one of the most powerful things. And I thought this whole use case in play to earn in the Philippines was really interesting, and in other South Asian countries like Vietnam and Thailand in 2021, where you saw people coming out of poverty through gaming. And I think the investment aspect of gaming, or buying and holding assets and being able to be in control of them and to do what you want with them, I think is a really powerful use case. Because to play a game and to build up these assets and to build up a skill set, and then you become a mature man and you're like, well, I got to have kids and I'm gonna just not play games anymore, and you leave all this work
right
there.
Yes.
And now maybe we get into a place where, we can transport our assets between other games, or maybe we can sell these assets and monetize this value we've created. I think that's really compelling. It doesn't seem, though, that these types of things have really necessarily played out yet, right? It's still early days. And I think, like you said, there was this kind of hype, like, oh, like next year we're going to be able to do all this kind of stuff. And,
right.
And then at the end of the day, you're like, well, you can custody your assets, but you can't really move them to another game because that interoperability doesn't exist yet in the most part. But, hopefully smart people like you are figuring that kind of stuff out.
That's our job. And so I'll tell you a cool story that happened. This happened. So I was at Breakpoint in Singapore about a month ago. And this is a real story, right? One of our community members started getting into MixMob, our game, right? About a month prior to Singapore, right? Breakpoint. And this person started, getting into the community, and the community is like, yeah, we're all gonna go to Breakpoint by playing MixMob, and they all kind of got together and started playing MixMob competitively, right? Winning, teaching each other. And this group of about, I would say 10 to 15 individuals, by playing the game, managed to actually make enough money to pay for their trip. They're from Philippines, to pay for their entire trip to Singapore, buy the conference ticket, all by playing MixMob Racer 1, which is our game.
So when you say they made enough money, does that mean they added enough value to their NFT so they could flip it?
So that's one way. The other way from which they did it is when you win in our game, right? So imagine you're playing Mario Kart, right? So you're now playing. If I win, then there's an entry fee from which I get 90%. So let's say you put $1, I put $1, I get 90 cents, and the game gets 10 cents.
Okay.
So by playing competitively, they've managed to actually get enough money.
I see.
And playing in tournaments, we have tournaments, every week and other things, enough money to actually go to Singapore. And I met them there.
That's pretty cool. That must have been exciting for you.
It was so exciting. It was like a dream come true, for real.
Right.
Because you interact with these people all the time. And particularly this new person, this person, Isaac, he started playing a month before.
Right.
And he became so good, so fast, because the whole community embraced him. And meeting him there was like game changer.
So when they're earning, when they're winning games, they're getting paid in the MXM token, I assume.
They're getting, so our economy works two ways. Remember the analogy of the chips?
Yes.
So with MXM, you buy chips,
Okay.
you play with those chips, and then you can go and exchange those chips for MXM, from which you can leave the MXM stake in the game and be like, okay, this game has future.
Yeah.
I want to participate in its economy and get some, we call them passive rewards. Or I can go and explore the broader crypto ecosystem.
And so they're held in their wallet on your game,
That's right.
but then they can, on the Solana network, transfer that to any Solana wallet
It's
and
their
do what they
wallet.
want with them.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing you mentioned was in the future you see kind of this these AI features in the game. What does the roadmap of MixMob look like in the future?
Yeah, so for us, it's what I was mentioning. Competitive gaming is really important,
Okay.
and so these NFTs play a role in the way that there's going to be other competitive gaming games inside of our ecosystem, and these NFTs now live in all of these games. So you can do different things with these NFTs inside of all these games, and the cool part is, because we have now this unified economy with MXM, now if Jared, what I was mentioning in the beginning, if Jared wants to start his, let's say you want to start surfing, competitive surfing game inside of the MixMob ecosystem where these robots surf, or, we also have humans where these humans surf, you can apply through the economy. We have like a part of an allocation of our token for grants for developing the ecosystem.
Oh, cool.
Then you can go apply, and then, we can build this almost like a digital country together.
Oh, amazing. That's very cool. Simon, where can people learn more about you or follow you and also MixMob?
Definitely. So I'm pretty active on Twitter. So just at me at Simon Vieira, and my last name is Vieira. I'm there all the time, posting thoughts and things about MixMob. And from MixMob side, definitely go check us out, mixmob.io. We're also very active on Twitter. So our handle is at MixMobOrigin. And we do a lot of promotions, cool things on Twitter, or join our Discord.
Excellent. That's amazing. Simon, it's been super interesting to talk to you. I've really enjoyed learning more about both yourself and the game.
Thanks, Jared.
I'm excited that you have built such an excellent company here in Vancouver, which
Thanks,
always excites me. It's great to meet, local talent like yourself. So I appreciate your time.